Hello everyone, this is part 20 of What If Naruto Was Abused and Obtained Mokuton, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Are you going to continuously avoid us in battle? Sasuke demanded with a hint of frustration in his tone. Why was he even saying us? Kakashi was standing motionlessly behind him, shell-shocked. They had managed to unmask the Uchiha. To be specific, he had unmasked himself in order to sell something to them. It was no longer necessary to hide who he was, as it didn't even matter because his goal was within reach. He had absolute confidence that his partner in crime would do the other deed. But Sasuke also had complete confidence in Naruto's ability to defend himself regardless of the challenge. On the matters at hand, this man who claimed to be Madara turned out to be Kakashi's former teammate. It was disappointing that Kakashi would be shocked that his former teammate was alive and the one trying to take the shinobi backwards. Perhaps Sasuke shouldn't be the one to say, given his past wasn't filled with sensible emotional reactions. He could see why the lack of control had both amused and annoyed Naruto. It was nonetheless baffling that even Kakashi could be brought to this level. He'd never known the man to lose calm. Naruto had moments, and Sasuke could argue the blonde was more controlled than the Jonin. Naruto was the type of person who did things for amusement. He was a whimsical creature, and yet he controlled himself to behave. I don't really have to fight you. I need to stall. And I want to KO you to stop you. An infuriating impasse. He knew the goal, but there was nothing he could do about it. He could try to leave, but the man would stand in the way. Besides, he couldn't just leave this man. He had confidence that Naruto would handle his business. If he fell, and they took down this man, then there was still a chance. After all, this man was the one with questionable plans. Kakashi-sensei, snap out of it. Sasuke shouted coldly. We can't let him leave alive. Kakashi glanced at Sasuke and then at the expressionless Obito. He got a bad feeling when Sasuke explained that there were similarities between his jutsu and that of Madara. It was not possible for two different eyes to possess the same unique abilities. There were generic abilities and some only unique to a specific eye. Obito was supposed to be D. But it turned, he had caused their sensei's death. He had manipulated the Yondai Mizukage. He had become the complete opposite of what he'd been. He had witnessed his M of Rin. Obito was not their friend, but enemy. Before he could say anything, another presence appeared behind Obito from the ground. Sasuke went on guard. It appeared, he knew the thing. It wasn't human, that much was certain. Zetsu, Obito glanced at the creature and then back at Sasuke. While he could get away, taking his eyes off them would be fatal. After all, they possessed the ability to get past his defenses. He couldn't afford to fall now. Not when he was this close. If you're here, then Nagato has succeeded. Zetsu slowly moved toward Obito, but his eyes on the Konoha shinobi. Yes, he has. Obito gave no outward reaction, but inwardly, he was both thrilled and relieved. Nagato would not betray him. Even if he did, it would be inconsequential at this point. He would soon be reunited with Rin. He was soon to see the world he desired. The suffering would end. The tragedy that was the shinobi world would end. He would change things. Everyone's dreams would become a reality. For a moment, he let his guard down. You mean Naruto fell? Sasuke asked in disbelief. No, surprisingly, Zetsu stated. He wondered if he should say what happened but then decided to keep this to himself. It was vital knowledge that could prove useful if things went south. But Nagato has succeeded. Then staying here is pointless. Obito said to Zetsu. Do not worry Kakashi, you will soon reunite with Rin, even with your father. Obito jumped back, taking Zetsu along with him. His focus not on Sasuke but Zetsu. What are you doing? He demanded with urgency. He already couldn't control the part of his body Zetsu had attached and he was quickly spreading through. Taking away parts of his body would solve anything because he would still be there and he couldn't maintain the jutsu forever. You're no longer useful to me now that Nagato has achieved his goal. Obito gritted his teeth. You plan on using Naruto. He'd always known to be careful around Zetsu. He was the wool of Madara. It infuriated him that he would get taken like this. He will be much more competent. You no longer hold an attachment to this world. And have a different goal. Your usefulness ceases to exist. No, he didn't see this happening. But Obito wouldn't let this be the end of him. Not when his reunion with Rin and everyone else was just in front of him. He'd not spent years scheming just so he could be ended like this. He would make Nagato do his bidding. He would get the Rinnegan and cast infinite Tsukuyomi. This thing could not stop him. It would not be the end of him. Not like this. You will not succeed in controlling my body, Obito said confidently. He wasn't pancaking. Not even a little. He could still get away from this situation. Cuckoo, I don't need to. Obito's eyes glanced ahead and saw Kakashi charging toward him with a Chidori. He smiled inwardly. He would get rid of Madara's strings on his heart in the same way Rin did. It was ironic and somewhat bitter that Kakashi had to be the one to do this. But it was alright, once he has initiated eternal genjutsu, there would be none of this suffering. What the hell happened? Shadow clone. He shouldn't have been undone by it. But then, Zetsu had kept him from doing anything. And he hadn't expected Sasuke to attack. He had welcomed Kakashi's attack because he needed it to get rid of the curse in his heart. Was this the end? If it was laughable. He laughed bitterly. Would he not get to see Rin? Would be denied by these naive fools who didn't understand just how hopeless the shinobi world was. I must thank Naruto for this tactic. The Uchiha spoke from behind Obito. Zetsu dropped to the ground like black ink. While splattered, he spoke in a dark tone. Don't worry, Obito. I will see to it that infinite Tsukuyomi is cast. You just won't be alive to witness it. Sensei, Sasuke shouted. Boom. The attacks hit the ground, creating a small crater. But within it, Zetsu was nowhere to be seen. Sasuke frowned. He was indifferent to Obito. That thing had said Naruto didn't fall but Nagato had succeeded. He assumed Nagato was pain. If that was the case, then Naruto was plotting something. He could be wrong. At any rate, it seemed like things were going according to that thing's plan. He had to guard against that. And that was what worried him. We have to find Naruto, he said to his former sensei. Flashback end. Presently, while Nagato was happy he had the Kyuubi, he felt incomplete. Naruto's actions had thrown him off the hook that he began to even wonder if he was moving the right way. Of course, he was certain the blonde did have ulterior motives. Or maybe it was just his warning that left him with some discomfort and the mounting questions that refused to be answered. The Rinnegan was his, but Naruto seemed confident it was not. Madara only appeared before him only because of these eyes. They were the only thing that could control the Gedo Mazo. There was just still much blanks that needed to be filled and much he was left out. Naruto's frustrations over his lack of knowledge left a somewhat bitter taste in Nagato's mouth. As he thought about it, he wanted to laugh. When had he become this mere puppet who knew nothing in the grand scale of things? He didn't even know much about the very eyes that he claimed to have awakened. And he called himself God. What a sad God. A pathetic God who knew nothing yet spoke big and wanted to become big. What a disappointment he was. Although he had denied it, Yahiko had seen him as the hero would make Am stop crying and bring peace to the shinobi world because of his eyes. Treacherously, he was the one who made Am rain every day. These eyes had seen him get used. He had the tools he needed to finally bring peace, for his heart to finally rest. Yet, the emptiness bothered him. It shouldn't. Perhaps if he had fought Naruto to the death, he wouldn't feel this way. Conan, he started slowly. Do you think Yahiko would be pleased with us? He warned me to stay away from Madara. I thought it was just naivety. I thought we were naive. But maybe it was anger and hatred that drove us. Does it matter? We have gathered the Bayou. And can finally say peace within our reach. We are already here. But it didn't mean what Naruto's was saying didn't bother her. He wasn't just rambling nonsense. Perhaps you're right. We have made decisions that brought us to this moment. The S that were made by comrades were for this moment. Why do you think he did what he did? Conan asked. It was strange, considering, the blonde didn't even want to know much about his plan or whether it would succeed or not. I really can't understand his thinking. The intel was right on this part. He doesn't seem to have loyalties to anyone. Nagato replied. It doesn't matter, though. Peace is within our grasp. We have the Kyuubi. Once we seal it within the Gedo Mazo, our dream will finally become a reality. If Madara doesn't show his hand, if he survives his battle, it didn't seem like Naruto was worried about that. We must also take caution about this. He seemed confident we wouldn't be able to control the power. His expressionless mask turned into a smile. We don't know anything and yet have come this far. Yahiko would be disappointed. When did he allow himself to become like this? Controlled and ignorant. Wasn't he the savior of this world? Jiraiya-sensei would be disappointed as well. Once we have sealed the Kyuubi, it would be perfect to show its power. Konoha would make a good target. Konan swallowed a sigh. She had known if they reached Konoha, Nagato wouldn't have left the village standing. He still bore a grudge against Leaf Shinobi over the K of his parents. Then again, his name was pain. It was this pain that has taken him this far. There was no way he would forget it. She didn't see anything wrong with it, destroying Konoha. But if they did, it would just lead to more chaos. But with their power, they could stop it all. They could stop all wars. They could make Shinobi villages understand pain and suffering. Maybe peace would soon be with them. They are not just going to let us. You would also target Konoha after what he did? She asked of Naruto. He did what he did because he really doesn't care about the leaf. It isn't surprising. Jinchuriki do not have peaceful lives. Perhaps then we could speak more while trying to understand him. Nagato did hand signs through Tendu. Kuchio's no jutsu. The demonic statue of the outer path appeared in a huge puff of smoke. He considered getting off his mechanical walker for a moment, but chose against it. The loss of members had pressed Zetsu into revealing a different method of sealing, and that was taking much control over the statue. Onoki knew something was wrong the second he arrived at the village gates. There was too much activity within the walls and didn't seem like anybody was leaving the village. There was also a huge line outside that was a major giveaway. He hurried to the tower and stopped when he saw its destruction. Nobody had warned him. They had just been silent as he hurried toward his offices. He floated, staring silently. It couldn't be the Akatsuki. There was nothing to gain from this. When was the last time this place was even destroyed? To destroy this tower meant a weakness in the cage. What the hell happened here? Kitsuki-sama is waiting for you, Tsuchikage-sama. Onoki glared at the masked man, but didn't seem like he wanted to say anything. Good thing Kuretsuki wasn't around, otherwise, she would have been feeding him some stupid ideas while still bubbling in anger toward whoever managed to do this to his beloved village. The masked man took him to an underground chamber where there was a huge round table. Kitsuki was sitting alone. It seemed as if the man had hardly slept at all. What the hell happened? He demanded. An assailant was here. Walked through the village gates like a civilian. Guards didn't find anything suspicious about him until his movements became strange. He launched an attack, destroying this place and attempted to capture me. He wanted to capture me alive for some reason. When he got surrounded, he managed to escape us. How did someone manage to escape an entire village? Kitsuki shook his head. We're gathering intelligence. Who was he? Where did he come from? We don't know. His papers said he was a traveler from the land of demons. Given the attack, it is false and someone from the Great Five. No small nation would dare this attack. And that was someone who had confidence in himself. He may have failed, but he'd laughed it off. There were only 4 casualties and no other injuries. It appears, his interest was only me, alive. Kitsuki added in a hardened tone. The village is still in lockdown because we don't know if he is still in or has already departed. I think he has gone already, but we want to be sure. This was madness. Who would do something like this? And what did they want with Kitsuki? It wasn't like there was something special about him. He was powerful, but nothing anyone would invoke the wrath of the hidden stone like this. They had to find out who and deal with them. If another hidden village was involved, they too would need to be dealt with. Keep the security as it is. But people must still flow. We must just be vigilant. Gather 10 best tracking shinobi you can find and prepare them for departure as soon as possible. We're going to the rain to search for the Akatsuki. And where the Bayou are. We must be ahead of others. There is no saying they are within the rain. According to the information from the Kazekage, it could be somewhere else. Then we are going on a Bayou hunt. Yes, we will first target ours, then the 3 tails and the 7 tails. There is no opposition there. If we target those that belong to others, it's direct confrontation. It was going to be confrontation anyway. The others would not allow Iwa to obtain 4 Bayu. Not to mention, the 3 tails once belonged to Kiri. But given the village hadn't done anything once its Jinchuriki D, it was unlikely to make any noise. The 7 tails was from a small village, so it didn't matter. It would be give them an almighty advantage if they managed go get 4 Bayu. But if they did get the 4, the enemy would be hesitant to go to war with them, unless they combined their powers. At which case, another plan needed to be made to protect Iwa. Onoki really didn't want to go to war. But if he didn't do it, Kumogaku was going to do it. The Reikage has always been on the hunt for more power. They respected power and nothing else. If he permitted Kumo to get the advantage, Iwa would be at risk. He had no choice in the matter. The 3 tails belongs to Kiri. Onoki shrugged. Kiri is weak. Nothing it can do, he said. But let us target the 7 tails. It is the 3rd most powerful Bayu. I will make preparations. Gather 5,000 men. 2 will be going with me to the rain. 3 will be divided into 4 groups and camp at our borders. They must be ready to move when the message comes. You must stay here. Kuretsuki will lead the 3,000. She needs experience. Then the rain is going to get invaded. Yes, Onoki said. I will prepare with the council and send a message to the feudal lord. You are to be Tsuchikage once this is over. Even if I don't return, you're to assume control. This will be my final act as Tsuchikage. Konohagakure. The village was getting ready for battle. And maybe war. But with the way things were happening in Naruto's absence, Sasuke didn't think a war was going to happen. But, anything's still possible. He didn't even know if Naruto was alive at the moment. If we're going to war, at least our future is a little better without the Bayu getting involved. Sasuke said Kakashi. The long way back had been silent. Obito no doubt in the mind of the Jonin. That is if the Bayu don't get captured first. I would prefer we fight just after the cleanup. Konoha won't be in a good position if the Bayu return to their villages. Isn't Naruto the perfect opponent for a Jinchuriki? If he isn't in the village and we don't find him, we're already in a bad situation. If that is the case, the 10 tails will be revived and we could be in trouble. At this rate, Sasuke was thinking that was Naruto's goal. He'd said he had no interest, but Naruto could change his mind if it was convenient. At any rate, he knew nothing but that Zetsu was confident that things were moving according to plan. He had to remain on his toes. Even if Naruto was around, neither he or me are unbeatable. We are still humans. We can't be everywhere. We can only do as much. Sasuke conceded. No amount of power was ever enough. Not unless you became a true god. Surprising, coming from you. Fighting with Naruto has made me realize limits. There is a certain point even I can't pass. Perfect Susanoo could do damage. But he couldn't hold it forever. He didn't have a limitless amount of chakra. Thinking of it, he had to speak to Naruto about creating a seal for him. The blonde had said it in passing that he could create something similar to what Tsunade had. But unlike healing, it would just replenish his chakra. He isn't the kind you make a benchmark, but you're right. Konoha's power has depleted over the years. He smiled. But having you and Naruto makes us strong. But not invincible. Naruto could subdue all Bayu even if they all came at him once using a combination of Mokuton and Fuinjutsu. But he was still human. He got tired. He had weaknesses that could be exploited. They soon arrived at the office. Tsunade looked happy to see them alive. You succeeded. Somehow. Sasuke said with a bit of disappointment. Naruto isn't here, is he? No. Tsunade shook her head. He departed to fight Pain. Do you know anything about it? We were told Pain succeeded but Naruto had not fallen. I don't know what it means but I would like to depart immediately to find out. Jiraiya and Guy have already gone out. Tsunade said in a thoughtful tone. But if the message has reached him already, he must be going to Omegakure. Are you sure you can find him? I'm fast enough and know a few places. It would have been much simpler if Karen was around. You may leave, but don't forget to return immediately. Are you even sure he has not fallen and Pain succeeded? That is what I want to find out. Go, Tsunade said. Perhaps Naruto was correct, what was in front of him was beyond imagination. His senses had gone off. This was beyond just a mere beast. The seemingly painful cries of the statue brought about a distortion in the atmosphere. Large chunks of earth were floating while he stood a distance away, being protected by the paths from the chaos ahead. He had no control over what was happening. If he had done this within the Fire Nation or the Rain, it would have been destroyed. He had no absolute control over statue now. Should we move away from here? Conan asked with concern. She was worried that after the transformation, they might not be able to do anything as Nagato had already confessed he couldn't control the statue anymore. This power was just beyond her imagination. She had no idea that something like this would happen. What are you afraid of? Conan nearly jumped when someone spoke from behind. She quickly twisted her neck to check and found a pale-looking Naruto standing behind them. When did you get here? Just now. Well, I have been watching. Not necessarily true, but who was going to question him? He stared at the transforming beast. It was already starting to take shape. He worried that the amount of power being poured out here would alert shinobi from all corners and they would find a way to come here. When it came to danger, shinobi ran toward it rather than away. I thought I was powerful, but this is ridiculous. If I had to face something like this in battle, I'd give up without trying. Naruto said, hands folded across his chest. See, what I told you. You had no idea what you were playing with. We were misled, but we have not failed. If it cannot be controlled, then I will see that it is sealed. Naruto burst out in laughter and then settled down. He was calm, even when chunks of earth were flying around. One could smack him in the face. The very ground was trembling and yet he settled calmly on a rock, watching and calculating. But what are you doing here? Tell me, you profess the desire to make peace in this shinobi world. Why? It has always been our goal, having grown in a war-torn world. When you have seen war and its consequences, you want to avoid it or make it so that it can never happen again. We have suffered greatly in this world. We have experienced pain, and we want to teach this pain to this world that it may learn to stop with its wars. Jiraiya Sensei may have influenced a little when we were younger over his desire to bring peace. But he has never found an answer, and we have. Hatred and pain, these emotions made men walk blindly. Naruto had once been filled with hate. Hatred so deep he wouldn't have thought twice to unleash the power of the Kyuubi on those who'd harmed him, even if he died in the end. He tried it more than once. While he disciplined his hatred, the pain was forever lingering. It hovered about him wherever he went like his shadow. He couldn't escape his pain. Because ultimately, it was what made him Naruto Uzumaki. He was shaped by his pain. Sasuke was shaped by hatred. Perhaps they were lacking love. No, even if shinobi loved, he would still end people. Itachi had K because he loved. Humans were like that. Whether hatred, pained, or in love, they would ultimately fight and K each other. It was a fundamental error in the wiring of shinobi mindset. Other nations didn't fight as much as they did. They had their conflicts but not in the same manner as shinobi. Grand dreams, huh? While pain forces us to grow and teaches us fear, it also makes us hate. Humans are like that. We are weak. We're quick to pick up our blades to K others. We make the same mistakes. It seems, we're also incapable of understanding each other. If people understood each other, there wouldn't be wars. Understanding changes nothing. I can understand you but still fight you when our interests clash. We are just selfish people who only think about ourselves. Naruto said. But, you think teaching people pain will teach them to love peace? Those who do not know true pain cannot understand peace. We're more likely to even understand each other when we share the same pain. It was ironic. You have learned pain, but you have only learned to become violent. Sure, men fear pain and may stop certain actions in fear of it. But there is a point where they do not stop. You have not learned to be peaceful but have adopted an ideal. You want peace but through violence. Naruto smiled. The world is filled with hypocrisy. The great nations cannot lecture. Their peace has come out of violence. Perhaps violence is the only language shinobi understand. It is a world ruled by power. You're powerful, have experienced pain, why do you not seek to change the world? Why have you even allowed for this to happen? We all justify our means. You will justify your violence and threatening the very foundation of this world because you want peace. But you're only doing so because you're powerful. If you were weak, you would only strive to protect what you view as family. It is only those with power that can change things. But it doesn't mean they are right. That hardly matters anyway. Because you have power, you are right. I told you, you cannot control this power. Why I do not want to change things. I don't think my ideals are superior to anyone. Or maybe it isn't just convenient. Maybe I want to change things, hence I stand here. I wanted you to see the folly of your plans and make you realize that you're not God but a mere human who happens to wield the Rinnegan. He pointed at the transforming beast. It was almost complete. But that can be said to be a god. The problem is that has no conscience. Just a beast that destroys everything in its path. And it will destroy everything if not stopped. Yet you permitted this to happen. I would have had to kill you to get it done. KU would not have been simple. You hold the Rinnegan, and I cannot afford to be engrossed in battle when that thing could take advantage of things. That thing. You mean Zetsu? Yes. I believe he is the one with the plans. I could be wrong. He also told me you could have the Rinnegan. A warning. Did you not question why I would possess eyes that are supposed to appear only once in a generation? I'm starting to believe this may not be the case. But your position is contradictory. Or that you're just not telling me that you want this power for yourself. It could explain why you chose to come here and speak of stopping it and you let it happen. Even if you say fighting me would have taken a lot from you, Zetsu is not a fighter. And I think you have more chakra than me. You faced me alone, and came here, then you're not as simple as intel suggests. Perhaps you may even be more powerful than me. Nagato paused for a second before speaking again. Though, I highly doubt it. Nagato. It is fine, Conan. He is not stupid. He is very smart and calculating. And given your current state, you don't seem like you can fight. In fact, you're probably sitting because of severe exhaustion. Did you extract the QB? If he is weak, shouldn't we get rid of him? Conan asked. He tricked us into reviving the Jubi, but I don't think he is an enemy. Nagato said calmly. But what do you really want, Naruto? If you're not giving me a satisfactory answer, I can kill you now and then seal the Jubi. Boom. A huge shockwave tore through the atmosphere. It sent the floating chunks flying into all directions. Even Naruto was sent flying backwards. He hit a large rock while still being carried by the momentum. He crashed through it before regaining control over his body. A one-eyed crimson beast. It was so monstrous he thought it was the thought he was but an ant before it. He felt his heart race, pounding furiously. It was an emotion called fear. It was amusing. When was the last time he'd been afraid? Perhaps because he knew this thing could kill him. In its glory, 10 monstrous tails pointed up into the air. It sat on its belly, gigantic hands touching the ground. Its head and one giant eye in the middle seemed to scan the area. It made no move. Naruto felt like an insect standing before the Jubi. And the sage fought this thing. It was ridiculous. No man could fight such a monster. Even he wouldn't dare. The QB was right, such a beast meant the end of the world. When its belly moved from the ground, standing on all fours, Naruto put on an expressionless mask. It has noticed us, Nagato said, staggering to his feet with his mechanical walker destroyed. Stand back, I will do what the Sage of Six Paths did when he created the moon. We will figure out what to do after it has been restrained. He had no control. He could not command the beast to do anything. And to think he had planned on selling such power to anyone who bought it. If that was a reality, it would mean an end to the shinobi world before he knew it. Naruto glanced at pain through the corner of his eyes. He really did not lack in confidence in his abilities. You're right. I want this power, Naruto said, before disappearing in a blur. What is he doing? Conan asked with worry. He knows more about it than us. And if true he too has the Rinnegan, then he must have plans to control it. Nagato said with narrowed eyes. It was pathetic. How many had he killed to get to this point? He would have even destroyed Konoha. He had all those who opposed him. But now, he stood here, with all his power, feeling powerless. What could he do? No, the sage was said to have created the moon when sealing the statue. Then, he too could seal the 10 tails. When had he even started even doubt in his power? Surely, the Rinnegan could assist him if it could control the Gedo Mazo. Conan, stand back. You're going to do it. We don't have a choice. Standing atop of the 10 tails, Naruto realized it was like standing top of a colossus mountain. It was good that he was insignificant. Was he really doing this? A corrupt S like him. The only difference there was with him and Nagato was that he was very subtle about his intentions. He did not need to preach the good news about salvation and all the nonsense. He did as he pleased, when it was convenient. But there was nothing convenient about this. Life truly took turns nobody imagined. He was here at this moment and he had to live. It was his future. He would have the power to protect and do as he pleased. Perhaps he could even see the world he so desired to see. He started doing hand seals. All around him, chunks of earth was being pulled into the air. Everything was being pulled up. But the Jubi remained stationed. Nagato was trying to seal the beast. A futile exercise. It could destroy whatever it wanted. Slowly, Jubi began to be pulled inside of him. Some years ago, Naruto slumped to his knees, his breathing labored, his young body sore to the bone. His mind a fog of darkness. Though his eyes could function, he could see nothing but B, for he was surrounded by DB. This wasn't the first time Naruto was in this position. If you do not fight, you will die, Naruto-kun. The devil had said those words with a grin. Then admitted he would be saddened to lose such a valuable test subject. In the same breath, he gleefully admitted he'd obtained enough research to prove many hypotheses he had computed in his journey of torment, treachery and savagery. There was nothing the Sannin did that was decent enough to be human. He was no longer human to begin with. As he stood on his knees, lifeless inside. His eyes were cold, his body numb, he could hear nothing but the sound of his own voice and those he K. He was but a 7-year-old, and yet, he had K people. He didn't think there was any reason to continue living, but his instinct to survive caused him to act in some way. Not mention, the Bayu inside of him gleefully gave him some of its chakra to commit M while calling him AM, saying he was no different than the Sannin he despised. He is improving. It's remarkable that he doesn't even have any scars on him. Quote, yes, but given how much chakra he currently has, he is coming to become a monster when he grows older. Take him out quickly. We don't want him going on another rampage. Hi, Orochimaru-sama. When his vision slowly came back, Naruto found himself strapped into a bed, both Kabuto and Orochimaru flanking both sides. You were asleep for 2 days, Naruto-kun. The assistant said. Naruto tried to speak but his mouth was dry and he felt hunger. After a moment, he ignored the hungry snakes inside and turned his eyes toward Kabuto. He shot a look of contempt. He could speak but chose not to waste his words. Why do you even bother? Do you enjoy this pain? Why do you even try to be alive? Tomorrow, they'll find more innocent people and put them in a cage for you to K. Once they are done with their research, they'll get rid of you. So, let me end it for you. Orochimaru took his right hand. You're a little weak. Fighting like that did drain you, physically and emotionally. The Sannin laughed, but blamed Sensei for this. He failed to protect you. Your parents abandoned you to suffer like this. The Sannin then stuck a needle on his right arm. In the meantime, Kabuto stuck another one. It was transporting B into his system. It took a couple of minutes for his body to react. Despite his contempt for Orochimaru, he was forced to abandon it as an unbearable heat coursed through his veins. He felt his muscles twitch involuntarily, before stiffening. In pain, he grit his teeth, refusing to cry. He binds held him onto the bed as he writhed in pain. While he lay there, Orochimaru and Kabuto watched with curiosity. Naruto started to feel like something was crushing him. He could feel his body reacting negatively. At the background, the Kyuubi's dark laughs echoed like a drum. When his veins started to bulge, his mouth opened. He screamed, gripped with pain. You should be used to this, Naruto-kun. Orochimaru said, in a taunting tone. Naruto did not hear the Sannin. He only felt the immeasurable pain running rampant from head to toe. At any moment, his veins would explode. But maybe it would end his misery. What worried him was that his voice would die out. That he could hear it gave some minimum comfort. For about an hour, whatever Orochimaru did wreaked havoc inside of him. When he thought it was finally over, a root burst out from the left side of his stomach. It then formed, creating a small tree attached to his body. Looking at it, despite his pain, Naruto laughed. With his voice D, he could only move his lips but the laughter was loud inside his head. He could hear the hollowness, the hopelessness within it. But his eyes suddenly snapped opened. He found himself in darkness, his body pressed between rocks. What the hell was that? That was certainly one of the memories of his past he preferred to keep buried within. It always left him bitter and angry. In fact, he was feeling angry right now. But what had happened? He was just sealing the jubi when his mind went black. Nagato wasn't entirely happy. The jubi had suddenly disappeared into Naruto. There was no question, the blonde had become the Jinchuriki of the jubi. Why didn't he consider it? Perhaps because he never thought of becoming a host in his entire life. Maybe if he had done so, he could have ended his dependency on the mechanical walker. In the end, Naruto was sealed within Chibaku Tensei. But he was still not happy. We need to return to Omegakure and plan on the way forward. It could even be under attack right now. The cage we're meeting and intel has informed us that suspect we are located there. If that is true, they will attack our home. A grave sin Nagato would not forgive. He would destroy all those who attempt to shatter the peace he has created within the hidden rain. Will it hold? There is no reason it shouldn't. What of Madara and Zetsu? If Madara isn't here, then something happened to him. He must have fallen in battle as Naruto suspected. We have to talk to Black Zetsu about this. The jubi is much safer for us within Naruto. But we need to find a way to control him. Chakra rods wouldn't hold at this rate. He had to release the jutsu with a plan. Right now, Nagato didn't have any plan. But as long as the jutsu remained, nothing was going to happen. Besides, we have to avoid confrontation with other shinobi now. As soon as he finished speaking, rubble started to fall from the sky. It was followed by a huge explosion in the sky. The explosion tore through the rock formation. It seemed like a bomb had been set off in the air. The rock formation became undone, rocks sent flying into all directions. Nagato was forced to use the paths to protect both him and Konan from the falling rocks. He is coming. He alerted Konan. Along with the falling rocks, Naruto crash-landed. Konan took an unconscious step back. She'd always known Nagato could never lose a battle because of the Rinnegan and his massive chakra reserves. But the amount of chakra she was sensing from this person was beyond wild imagination. He stood there, clad in a white kimono, reaching down his knees. Its high collars had patterns of magatama. His hair had become much longer, reaching just below his shoulders. Above him, were 10 small orbs of chakra. There was a mark on his forehead, his skin much paler than before. When he opened his eyes, the fright in her heart surprised her. It wasn't the release of chakra but the Rinnegan he wielded. It meant he had the same power as Nagato and the power of the jubi. Black Zetsu was right, he did have the Rinnegan. There is a clear difference between a Bijuu's Jinchuriki and that of the jubi. Nagato said calmly. Then, what shall it be? You have taken something I have many years to obtain. Naruto vanished in silence. The speed in which he appeared in front of him that despite being Nagato, he couldn't even form a thought nor even react. Fortunately for him, the blonde didn't attack him. Well, I do owe you in that regard. Naruto smiled. Be at ease. I won't attack you, he raised his index finger. I could do it nonetheless. It is simple to do so. Nagato narrowed his eyes but replied on some casualness about him. I doubt so. Naruto ignored this response. You want to create peace, right? That is your desire. There are still questions I must ask you about your Rinnegan, why a student of Jiraiya turned out this way. The man is just like his sensei, less naive though, but idealistic in his quest for peace. He is a man who believes for endless wars to end, men must come to a position where they understand each other. But still to this day, he has no answer how to end the cycle of hatred. You wanted to end it by pain. A childish thought, really. You lost patience. Gripped by your pain, you failed to see reality. You have embarked on a righteous path to cleanse the world, making yourself right and the others wrong. Don't make light of the S we have made. Konan replied with a stare. Naruto raised an eyebrow, and then shook his head. Quote. Then what? You might be useful and prove to be a good shield in case things become dangerous. We will become your shield. Konan, calm down. Nagato said seriously. We must still hear what he has to say. We have lost this one. And we mostly have to face the 5 great nations without the jubi. Am will be in danger. Our goal still remains nonetheless. We must hear him out. You're sensible. I've always been resolute on my desire for peace. If the Great Five end up trying to destroy us, we will destroy them even without the power of the Jubi. However, speaking to you does make me curious about your plans. That is why I want to hear you out. Perhaps, you and I may be able to understand each other. We are fellow Uzumaki, after all. I think I understand you already. But understanding doesn't mean we get along. I can understand and emphasize with someone's plans for vengeance, and yet still K them to stop them for enacting such plans. Naruto replied, humans are complex creatures. But as I said, you can be useful. I want to corrupt this system of shinobi. But nobody must know I house the Jubi. Nobody also knows you're the leader of the Akatsuki. When you go back home, change your attire, and I will tell Konoha's people that I have K-pain. But I do not know where the Bijus are. Will that stop Am from being in danger? Yes. We will follow along. Are you sure about this, Nagato? Can we trust this person? We don't have much of a choice. He was powerful enough to destroy 2 paths in a matter of seconds before. And now he contains the Jubi. We can't K him. But I feel that we can trust him. Naruto smiled. Don't trust me. I'm an unpleasant person who took advantage of things. It doesn't matter if we still move toward peace. That's so, huh? Kabuto will come to Omegakure. He will work on restoring your mobility. Sasuke was hopping through trees in blurring speed as he charged toward the canyon. He had sensed the huge chakra spike and became concerned. There was no sign of Naruto, but he couldn't forget what Zetsu had said. Nagato had succeeded. He shuddered at the thought of the Jubi being revived with Naruto missing in action. If Naruto was D, Sasuke's dreams were D as well. There was just no way Konoha was going to let him become Hokage. They didn't trust him. And Tsunade had already stated it herself. When something appeared behind him, while still in midair, he swiftly unsheathed his sword. Sasuke considered not taking his sword away from Naruto, seeing ripple pattern of his eyes. It was no doubt the Rinnegan. He guessed it was the reason why Naruto felt different and much more intimidating than before. It was laughable that even he would feel this way. A little demoralizing that the blonde got more power. When was he ever going to reduce the power gap? He shook his head. That wasn't the important part. He crushed those petty feelings and the inferiority complex and sheathed his sword. Your reflexes have really improved. Sasuke ignored the remark. What the hell happened? He demanded. I sensed the huge chakra spike. And Zetsu said Nagato had succeeded. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Then, the fake Madara had appeared at the cage summit. What bothered him was that Zetsu didn't appear at any moment. If he didn't appear, then he wanted him to become the Jinchuriki. It was a little unnerving just thinking he could also be following someone's script. And the fake Madara. D. Sasuke replied. With the help of Zetsu. It appears he felt he was no longer useful. My guess is he used Obito to control Nagato in gathering the Beiyu because Nagato had the Rinnegan. Obito. Since when did you know about Nagato? The fake Madara turned out to be someone from Konoha. Kakashi's sensei, former teammate and your father's student. Zetsu mentioned Nagato, and I figured he was Pain. Now, that was a spanner he didn't see coming. To think a student of his father would turn out to be the one who was responsible for his death. It made Naruto feel all the more disappointed he wasn't the one to end his life. Really, there was a part of him that would have gotten the satisfaction of grabbing him by the throat, slowly strangle him to death. No, a more painful method would have been to wrap him in wood, then slowly crush his body. He could watch as he struggled helplessly, bones snapping one by one. A pity indeed, he murmured. It is laughable how you sometimes struggle to hold your dark emotions. You spent all your life mastering control over your emotions. But there is no question that you've considered vengeance against those who made you suffer. But you deny yourself that chance because some part of you realizes that if you cross that line, you might never come back. You seem quite pleased with yourself. I've seen you lose it. In fact, I'm happy to admit my hatred toward Itachi was nothing compared to your hatred toward your past. Naruto laughed. Well, maybe you're right. But Naruto understood the dynamics of hatred. He understood flirting with the edge of a cliff was a disastrous strategy. He loved his life. He wouldn't do anything to make himself miserable. The shinobi world has, however, never been kind to him. So, he could screw it over anyhow he wanted. I'm not fond of a lot of things, he said in thought. Konoha either. You merely stay in Konoha because it is convenient. You understand that life would be a little difficult if you departed the leaf. Of course, you could join another village, but that doesn't suit you. You don't trust people that much and you don't like taking orders. You're awfully talkative today. I just realized that you're indeed a complex person. I don't understand you. Despite your feelings toward the leaf, you were ready to become Hokage for me. Tell me, what really happened at the summit? Sasuke stared and then sighed, seeing Naruto wasn't going to entertain his probing questions. Then again, there was a war in the making. I'm more concerned about why Zetsu said pain had succeeded and you had not fallen in battle. Konoha has people looking after you. At this stage, Jiraiya should be at Am or on his way there. We will get to that. What happened? The Kage agreed to work together to get rid of the Akatsuki. Since information available says the leader is in the rain, it was agreed the village would be invaded by the combined forces. That was rather drastic, but he knew something like that would happen. It was just disappointing that the worst case possible would be the reality. Humans were truly low. Shinobi thought of nothing but destruction. The Kage would destroy everything in order to protect their hegemony. Perhaps a world without the Kage would be better. When is this invasion happening? In a few days. All nations are preparing. Bayou. It was agreed that each village would only take theirs. But already, we know that isn't going to happen. The moment the Akatsuki is defeated, all Bayou are there for the taking. That means war. An attempt to invade a Megakure, huh? Nagato wasn't going to allow his nation to fall. If Jiraiya goes there and finds that the Akatsuki is not there, what happens? Nobody is going to believe it. Even if Konoha refuses to take part in it, a Megakure is going to be stormed. They will do it just to make sure. And then the Bayou hunt. At least, there would be no war. Naruto was thoughtful for a couple of moments. This was the moment things started to reveal themselves. He could get the daimyo to call off an invasion. But there would still be some plots. He could get Konoha's feudal lord to do so. Konoha could of course be suspected of having stolen all Bayou if they don't find them. But would they try to invade the leaf because of it? Zetsu was right. Pain succeeded. I am no longer a Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. And there are no more Bayou to hunt. They have always been a problem. I have made sure that they are not around and no one gets them. For the next years, the shinobi world will be without Bayou. I figured something along the lines. And you're not going to tell me what you did exactly. Do you want to know? Yes. I'm not telling you. You're going to be Konoha's Hokage. It's better this way, Naruto said. I'm not going back to Konoha with you. We end our paths here. Sasuke almost laughed. He wasn't going to say it, but this compelled him to. You must know that there was a consideration that you should be K to avoid you being in the hands of the Akatsuki. If they don't find other Bayou, you'll be the only Jinchuriki alive. Even if you're not, it doesn't matter. They will come for you. Well, thinking of taking me out is a reasonable step. Naruto shrugged with indifference. You were looking for me, you have found me. There is no Akatsuki to worry about. I have K-Pain. Their Bayou are no longer an issue. I would say, job done. And the invasion. You're not really thinking about stopping it. If pain is no longer a threat, it isn't job done. What's wrong with a little bit of chaos? Innocent people will die. You've become rather too kind, Sasuke. But as you said, they won't want to stop. They need this, especially the Raikage. Words can do nothing to stop the invasion. I have goals and this is going to be a problem for it. And I don't. You do anything that seems convenient to you, or at least I thought. But I'm starting to believe your musings about world domination weren't just said in passing. You plan to control the shinobi world. Are you going to attack me? Do I look like I care if you control the shinobi world? Sasuke asked. If your proposals are adopted in Konoha, by the time I become Hokage, things will be very different. What is certain is that you and I agree that this world is flawed and needs to change. However, whatever you do, stay away from Konoha. It is mine. Naruto sighed. The one friendship I had. He said, go back to Konoha, tell them what I did. If Konoha gets attacked, you can become its hero. I'm okay with being the most wanted man. He closed his eyes, picturing his happy life with Ino. Apologize to Ino for me. I thought you planned on marrying that girl. That is still in my mind. But I have things to do. I can't have her following me at this critical time. I may not be able to protect her. Unplanned things did have such adverse consequences. His future happiness still did have to happen. Maybe not. Once the shinobi world became aware of his deeds, they would be after him. But Naruto had methods of controlling things. He could simply speak to the feudal lords. Perhaps even Kabuto's intellect could be useful in this scenario. He had methods to get out of tricky situations. But there was no rush. There were already plans to him. He smiled. If I had known they wanted to K me, I would have just K Kitsuki. You did something. Nothing to worry about. You got this. Do you know me for not knowing where I stand? You make mistakes. It is normal. I am still just a mere human. Naruto shrugged. The situation will become delicate for Konoha though. Well, they have you. I'm likely to be branded a traitor if I become suspect and the leaf seeks to protect itself. It matters not nonetheless. I will be living in solitude within a zoo. I'll watch things there and then. Your main focus should be the invasion and doing your duty as a shinobi of the leaf. On the bright side of things, you get to show your loyalty. Even if it means betraying you. If they suspect you of anything, they also suspect me. Do whatever you want. When Jiraiya returns, he will tell Tsunade there is no Akatsuki, just his former student. You will tell them that I K pain. This should be enough to convince Tsunade not to invade. She will head out, and explain her situation. Suna and Kiri are likely to agree with her. That means Iwa and Kumo will be left alone. They might try, but will ultimately fail. Gaara has seen pain. Not the real pain. Naruto shrugged. If they turn on us suspecting we are responsible. They already started to say we birthed the Akatsuki. That would be your chance to defend Konoha. Say right there, they make the accusation and threaten Konoha, you show them your perfect Susanoo, use a single swing and tell them that destroying Am would be easy for you and anyone who dares threaten the leaf will face you in battle. About me. I have retired to my ancestral home. Tsunade shows you newfound respect, and the shinobi with her do the same. Your path to Hokage is cemented. Beiyu. They are welcome to look. Konoha has no business since it has never used Beiyu power in war and its Jinchuriki was never captured. You seem to have had a good thought about this. I have, Naruto nodded. I want to first get rid of Zetsu before revealing my hand. He is still lurking. You have a plan. I have. Are we going to talk about the Rinnegan? We will, but for now, I need to go settle. We'll speak in a week or more. I wish to see what Karen is up to in Azushiogakur. There better not be something sinister going on there. You made the effort of leaving Konoha with her and then carelessly let her leave your side to go to Konoha when you had also bothered to train her. Naruto smiled. I'm capable of some genius thoughts but not to that level. Yeah, right, Sasuke said sarcastically. What happens to our friendship when you can't return to Konoha? You pitiful shinobi. I told you repeatedly to make friends and you said you only needed me. You did not listen to me and now you will seek Sakura's company. Sasuke glared at Naruto. I'm serious here. In a quiet tone, he added. I really have no one else who has my back in Konoha. Then start making friends. You have Kakashi, start there. Otherwise, you'll become reclusive and if that happens, your chances of becoming Hokage dim. You need to be popular. Who knows, once I'm gone, they might even sympathize and say I betrayed you. I have never been Konoha's favorite person. Though, they turned a new leaf, anything could shake them. Sasuke closed his eyes. Konoha without Naruto, he couldn't picture. And you stopped me from destroying the leaf. It would have been much better if we didn't even return. But you put ideas in my head and now you abandon me. Naruto put on an expressionless mask. Grow up, Sasuke. Take charge of your dream. I won't hold you hand anymore. He then smiled. But I have laid out foundations. Once this thing has settled, seek out Shikamaru. You'll realize, he is going to be very influential in the days to come. After all, the Jonin Commander and Anbu Commander are pillars that support the cage. Once you have those two behind you, you're sorted. If you're nice to Kakashi, it means that even if Tsunade tries to make him her successor, he refuses and says you're more suitable. We are going to shake this world, aren't we? Naruto closed his eyes. Of course. Even if it means we must destroy it. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.